Awesome. Have you ever been to Hawaii?
I have not.
You have not?
I hear it's great.
It's a lovely place. It's a beautiful place. You know, there's lots of trees. There's lots of beaches and sand. And what I didn't realize when I went there is that there's a lot of guys running around in Hawaiian shirts beating the shit out of people.
What?
Yeah.
You sure it's not in America, the proper mainland?
I mean, it is. Yeah, basically.
It's everywhere
I mean, it's
now.
everywhere, right? No, I'm actually talking about a game called Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, everybody. This game came out earlier this year, back in the early days of the year. And, you know, a lot of stuff has been dropping. There's a lot of indie games, so we didn't really get a chance to jump into this. And Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is not a game you just, like, casually play because it's like a 60-hour-long freaking soap opera. So we're playing it now. And I have not beat it yet. It's long. I am 8.5 hours into the game, and I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. But we're going to talk a little bit about it today and discuss, because if y'all have listened to our podcast for a while, you'll know that I was a huge Yakuza Like a Dragon fan. Absolutely adored it. Loved it. I did not finish it, though, because there was this one mission that made you go through 30 floors of bad guys with no saving hardly at all and try to survive. And I was just like, this is such a grind now. I don't want to do it. So I watched the end of it, and then that was it. But like, it was so grindy, and I'm already getting to a point now where I'm like under leveled in this game, and I'm like, shit, now I got to go and figure out how to like level my character up again, and fight all these bad guys. This game is actually harder than you think it would be. It's kind of crazy,
Really?
but yeah, it's interesting. But and there's no difficulty setting either. It's just like you just go in there, you just play. You know, you're just doing the thing. You know.
Wow.
But Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is set in a different era. So you actually start out back in Yokohama. I think it was Yokohama where you started out at. And you're there. You're Ichiban Kasuga. Everything's cool, hunky-dory. Life is good. Your friends are good. All this stuff's awesome. Well, then shit hits the fan, as you'd expect it to. And then next thing you know, you show up naked in Hawaii. Well, actually, there's a couple of things that happen before that. You find out you have family in Hawaii. So you go to Hawaii, and then next thing you know, you also end up naked in Hawaii. And then now you're a wanted man and have to figure out how to clear your name and get your clothes and do all this shit. So that's kind of the intro, which is kind of insane. And then now you're in Honolulu, and you get to explore. And I have been to Honolulu. So it is interesting that it's not a one-to-one recreation, but there are places in here that I'm like, oh, I've been there in actual Honolulu, which is kind of cool. But if you don't like this game, this area that they created, honestly doesn't feel a whole lot different than the Yokohama that they created, which kind of sucks in that I thought it would feel more like Hawaii. And it does, but it doesn't feel like it's a brand new map. It feels like they took the same formula idea and then like reskinned it with a lot. I mean, it's a different layout for sure, but the formulaicness of it is very much the same with a lot of buildings, and just the fact that you're in Hawaii is the only main difference. Even like some of the shops and stuff like that feels like you could have put these in Japan and it would be the same difference.
Yeah.
So that was kind of unfortunate, but playing through the game, it's the formula is very similar to the first one, where there's a lot of exposition in Like a Dragon. You have talking and more talking and more talking, and they say what they're feeling, and then they talk more. And in the first game, this is awesome because there's a lot of comedy in it. This one seems to have toned down the comedy a little bit and gone a little bit more serious in an ironic fashion, because the trailer does not show that.
I was like, yeah, the trailer makes
The trailer is like it's super fun and silly all the time, right? But there definitely is, like, the first 8 hours has been a little bit of comedy, but a lot of like serious, like heartfelt moments with the characters. And that was kind of a surprise to me. And I was talking to a friend about this yesterday, in that we're now living in the post Baldur's Gate era of society. And
we've evolved.
And this game doesn't hit the way it used to pre Baldur's Gate. And that sucks, because I want this. I was hoping when I play this game, I'm gonna be like, fuck yeah, this is gonna be my game of the year. Love it.
Game of the year.
It's not. Was
the last one game of the year for you?
I mean, it was up there. Well, I don't know if it was, but it was. I thought it was
Top five?
amazing. It was so fun. I don't remember what year it came out, but I was like, this is so much fun. Like, it's so stupid and silly, and it is like a real life soap opera. And it's just the zaniness of it was so unreal. And this one has some zaniness, but it's not as much as I kind of expected. But I'm still enjoying myself. I'm going to try and continue to push through it and see it through the end and just kind of, you know, see what happens with it. But I think for fans that like turn-based strategy games or turn-based RPGs and also are really into these Japanese style games, I think it's totally worth picking up because there is a lot of really fun bits in here that are just hilarious and silly and, well, stupid. And so I think that makes it worthwhile getting into it. It's just like, I wish it wasn't such a slog early on. And I kind of wish they didn't. I mean, there's a scene where I'm working with my two buddies in the game, and it's all silly, the dialogue that happens here. But the buddies are trying to get me to talk to this girl who I'm like in love with, but I can't talk to girls, like, to get them to go on dates. So you're going through this gamification of them training you, and then you have to decide, are you going to take this guy's side or this guy's side in how you go on the date with her? So the one guy is like, oh, let's be really proper and dress up nice and, like, you know, be very gentlemanly. And the other guy's like, nah, fuck it. Just, like, you know, be a man and go in there and just, like, you know, do your thing, right? So you have like 3 different moments where you get to decide which pathway you're going to take. You're going to take your one friend's side or this side. And then you go on the actual date and then execute accordingly. But it's like, it was so drawn out in so many ways that I was like, okay, this is kind of clever and kind of cool. But then by the time I was at the end of it, I was like, oh my gosh, y'all like have overly sold this, like overly talked about this thing for so long. And we're just like, let's just get on the next part, you know? It's so crazy.
So overstays its welcome.
Yeah. And then between cutscenes, like you'll literally go on a 15-minute cutscene between like chapters.
What is this, Metal Gear Solid?
Oh, dude. Yeah. It's basically, I probably is honestly like Metal Gear Solid. I mean, you know, the Japanese thing, it's just like so much exposition. It's crazy. And it's just so funny. But the gameplay wise, there's a lot of stuff in this already. Like I've played very little of it. Like the main combat is very much the same as it was before. They've added some new features. There's more environmental effects that you can use when you're battling enemies. So like the game is turn-based. So like they show you who's currently playing and then who's coming up next. So you can kind of plan out your attack strategy. Each of your characters has like a basic attack. You can do a guard. You can use items, kind of like in Pokemon or whatever. And then you have your skills.
Love it.
Where, you know, your skills are going to be use your magic points or whatever in order to lead out the attack. So some of them will be buffs that give you like increased defense. Some will be like single attacks that do a lot of damage. And then there's also these quick time events where you have to like press buttons at the right time in order to increase the damage output of whatever you're using. But they've added in this game more environmental effects where like things around you, you can grab onto stuff and then like push somebody up against somebody else and do additional damage based off of that. So there's a lot of cool, you know, additions to the combat scenario that made it kind of interesting. But then there's a lot of mini games in this game, as you may have seen through some of these videos.
Yes.
So far, I've done a dating simulator where I have to match up with women and make conversation with them, and you have to pick the right prompts. And then there's certain points where you have to do like a button challenge. We have to press a bunch of buttons really fast to basically shower her with compliments to get her to go on a date with you, which doesn't obviously work in real life, but it works in this game. And then there was one where you had to do like an Uber driver and drive around on a bicycle. But in order to get like the best points, you have to do tricks on your way to the delivery. So you're like doing these flips and shit as you're like going over there to them. And then there was there's Sujimon League, which is basically Pokemon inside of the game.
Sujimon.
But they're called Sujimon. So you have to go around. This is a Sujimon battle right here, actually. So you have 3 dudes fighting 3 dudes, and you have the Sujimon trainer. And the Sujimon trainer will be the one that controls the Pokemon, the Sujimon in the game, and they fight each other. And you have your normal, like, you know, the benefits of like, you know, the grass can fight the fire and the fire can fight this. And you collect these Sujimon around the world. So as you're traveling around the world, you find Sujimon, you fight them, and then you can try to capture them by showering them with compliments. So you don't use a Pokeball. You just like be like, please, please, man, come on. You know you want to be with me. Come on. And you like press all these buttons to do it. And then there's like a bingo game in here to like earn your bond relationships with people. So like you have these prompt conversations where you can like make chat with your friends, and if you succeed at that, it puts it on a bingo card, and you have to like get across or up and down with all the knowledge you've learned about your friend, and if you do that, you level up your bond with that person. And there was one mission that I did where I ran into this guy who was like shooting a stunt film, and he was like, dude, you like dodged that traffic so well, do you want to be a stunt person in my movie? And I was like, sure, why not? And then so now I'm playing an endless runner kind of game where I have to like dodge traffic down 3 lanes coming at me and move back and forth and try not to get hit. And I got 3 lives to do it. And there's an Animal Crossing that I haven't even gotten to yet that's like later on in the game that's like literally a whole Animal Crossing game inside of it. So like as much as I want to, the story is actually kind of good. But there's just, I don't know how they produce so much stuff in this game, to be honest, because there's so much stuff that really isn't that necessary. It's kind of silly and fun for a little bit, but almost like I kind of wish they would like spend a little bit more time on like making the story more like emotionally gripping and less cheesy. But then the cheesy part of it is kind of appealing. So it's like I'm struggling with how I feel about this game, to be honest.
Well, it's not game of the year, but you seem to like it fairly good amount.
Well, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I mean, there's so much. I mean, there's so much depth to it. It's like you have these like outfits and stuff. Everything does like, you know, upgrades your character to make them stronger. You eventually like there's so much upgrading to your abilities and stuff. You can have different jobs that your character takes, and this is from the first game too. But like my main job is a hero. But if I like take a different job, then I have different stats and skills available to me. So you can change out your job for your character, and then you can use different weapons. So like I could be like a surf bro, and then now my weapon is a surfboard, so I can use to hit people and all that stuff. So it's like everybody, like this guy that we have, he's a mechanic, so he has like auto mechanic stuff as his skills, and it's just so crazy. There's so much to this game, and that's like, I mean, honestly, we talk a lot about bang for your buck, right? I mean, this is a $60 game. There is so much content here. Is it all good? Not really, but is there a lot there? Oh yeah, like you're getting more than, I mean, you could spend 100 hours in this game easy, and not even touch the surface on everything. It's kind of insane.
It's infinite wealth, right?
Yeah, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. They dropped the Yakuza for this one.
Oh, okay.
And just called it Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth.
I'm gonna look up some stats right now.
Okay.
Like a dragon. Like a dragon. Infinite wealth.
What you've seen so far while you're pulling that up, does this look appealing to you? Or you're like, not my style game?
I definitely would not play this.
Really?
Yeah. Sadly, I would not. Wait, is this not even out on Steam yet?
No, it's out on Steam.
Oh, yeah. So it's got very positive. Almost 10,000 reviews. So it's going pretty good. Let's see.
That's good.
Let's see how many people are playing it. SteamDB. Okay. Going here. Like a dragon.
Yeah, somebody said this is probably the biggest and the longest game among its series, and just like Yakuza 0, the game is split between 2 something and has a massive tons of content and huge variety of mini games that doesn't feel like mini games at all. Grinding up to a boss for hours only to realize I'm under level will forever be my downfall. That's about accurate to my experience. Yeah, there's a lot to this. It's very extensive. I mean, I will say, like, if you don't like JRPGs, don't touch this game, because it is very JRPG, like very much like over the top, like exaggerate everything, you know. But there are some interesting characters in here. They're very likable. Ichiban is so funny and so silly. He's like a lovable. He's like a dumb teddy bear, basically. You know, but and then you have this one guy who's like this hardened badass character, and then you have this other dude who like tried to screw with you at the beginning of the game, and then he becomes your friend, and then he's like, oh my gosh, how could you be my friend? Like I tried to like literally steal your shit, and then you're like, because I forgive people, man, and then it's just this whole thing. But
this game is highly reviewed.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that right now.
I mean, it's like I said, it's really good. I mean, it's just like I just wish it's so hard coming off of Baldur's Gate with how much nuance there was in the storytelling and how good the characters delivered their lines and this, that, whatever. Like they you know, like when you went to film school, you know, they talked about when you're writing dialogue and stuff like that, you don't have to say everything, right? When you're like writing out words and stuff, you don't have to say everything that the person's doing.
Yes.
Yeah. And in here, there was a moment where, so there's these characters called pound mates, which when you pick up a flyer, this is kind of silly actually. You pick up a flyer, you thought it was like an escort service because it says call Mr. Gary's Love Shop or whatever. So you call them up and you're like, hey, I want to get this girl. Can she come out? And they're like, yeah, sure. Where are you? And you're like, oh, I'm on the street corner. And they're like, oh man, that's a dangerous spot. She's coming over right now. So you're like, that's weird. We didn't like go to a hotel or anything like that. Like, why is this escort coming here? Maybe it's to have a date before we go do the thing, you know? And she shows up and she's this big, huge, brawny black woman. And you're like, wait. And you look at the flyer again. You're like, oh, pound mates. Like this is, you call people up to come protect you. So it's not pound like sexual, it's the other pound.
Nice.
But in the whole process, like your character is talking to this other dude who's like super like he's super mysterious and serious and just like elusive. And it's like, who is this man? He's like well dressed and this, that, whatever. And he's sitting there talking to Kasuga and he's like, man, you know so much about this topic. Tell me more about this topic of pound mates or like escort services. And then so Kasuga is like, oh, I grew up in a soap land, which is like their prostitution or their brothels basically. It's like I grew up in a soap land, so I was all around that stuff all the time. And this happened, this happened, this happened. He's like, wow, you really do know your stuff, don't you? And I'm like, that's the dumbest line I've ever seen in my life. But I don't know. I guess some of it's kind of endearing or whatever when you're playing it. That it's just.
I love to see the exact translation versus what they decide to put on here for
that's
the
true
American
too.
audience.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
But I mean, having those like stupid one-liners is probably more to the appeal. Like I mean, yeah, there's a lot of different gameplay mechanics in this from moment to moment, but I feel like this is almost a game to veg out on, in my opinion, from what I see.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not. People in the comments can let me know. You would assume, you would agree with that?
Wait, so you said to veg out on?
Yeah, just veg out on. Like you pick this, like you're not really thinking.
Yeah.
It's just like you're going in. It's crazy time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird stuff happening.
I will say this is a game that it's not very good to take a break on because there's a lot of stuff that you forget. Because, for example, there's this one mechanic when you're walking around town where there's little like smiley faces over people's heads.
Yeah.
And there's a social network in the game. So you can go up to them and press square and then become their friend. And then that builds your bond powers. So it makes you more persuasive in conversations and stuff later on. So you want to go around and like everybody. But I was walking around for a while. I was like, man, what was the thing I'm supposed to do with the, it's like I forgot stuff, you know? So it's like you really need to know. And then like the story, there is a freaking, as silly as the story can be, like there's a lot of layers to the storytelling that sometimes like if you go like 2 weeks without playing it, like you really lose a lot of the context of what's happening in the moment. So it's like I would definitely recommend if anybody's going to pick this game up to, I mean, again, 60-hour game, but find a lull in your time and then just like play through this game. Like, you know, play it, like make this your main game because taking breaks in it, you miss out on a lot of stuff on what you can do. Oh, there's a Segway in it now. So you can like press a button to like spawn a Segway, this electric scooter. You just like drive around town and you have to go to charging stations to charge it up and you can customize it and stuff. It's so funny.
Nice.
I mean, there's so much shit in this game, man.
It's so random.
As you're walking around, there's like random suitcases everywhere that you can just like pick up to give you like items and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're just like stuck in bushes and like there's just shit everywhere. And it's like in Pokemon, you know, but It's crazy. They also, so the thing that kind of also got me excited, so this game came out in January of this year. They just announced not a sequel and not an expansion, but it kind of is an expansion, but it's a brand new game for another $60. And it's called Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. And you're a new legend born as you begin to step in the steel-toe boots of Goro Majima, a man who has lost his memory and reinvents himself as a pirate on the open sea. Embark on the over-the-top adventure of a modern-day pirate with an ex-Yakuza, now pirate captain, and his crew as they engage in exhilarating combat on land and sea in the hunt for lost memories and legendary treasure. So, like, this is, like, in the same world, so they didn't, like, create a new Hawaii. It's just, like, Hawaii, but you are a person playing as a pirate. You're on a pirate ship, and you have all these crazy zany abilities now that are, like, beyond over the top of this, and that's a whole new story. And they've brought this game out a year after the first one, and I'm just like, I don't know how they're whipping this shit out so fast, but I'm
sure wild. They had a bunch of ideas, and they're like, let's just do it over here. That's why you said it's kind of basically the same. Like they didn't change. Much.
Yeah. So
I think that makes sense.
It's
Pirate Yakuza.
It's wild, man. Like this game is like unlike anything I've ever seen.
It's like One Piece, huh?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, your character is just like freaking lights and flashes and like going around doing crazy zany stunts and shit. And I don't know if it's turn-based or if it's going to be more real-time combat. It looks like it's almost real-time.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, this comes out in February, so game of the year next year. Who knows?
Killed him. Okay, just current year pirate.
Yeah,
killing people on the streets.
Yeah,
very nice.
People love it. So anyway, that's Like a Dragon. I would like to talk about it again in the future whenever I beat the game, which will likely be in 2026. But we'll see when we get there. But I've enjoyed my time. I'm going to keep going with it. But there are flaws and there are things. So if there's anything that I talk negatively about this game that you're like, yeah, that's a no for me, bro, then I would, recommend against it. But there's a lot of people that love this experience. They love this game. And I'm one of those people that is on that ship. It's just, it doesn't have the same appeal as the first one did for me, but it's still a lot of fun. And there's a lot of good to be had here for sure.
Well, it's nice to know that there are games that are being successful this year.
I know, right?
Especially one that came out in January.
Yeah.
Still very positive.
Yeah, dude. It's pretty awesome. Let's check it out, y'all. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth.